I was just doing it for
the sake of
for
we didn't follow the instruction. We did, but it was impossible to.
It's the 16th of August 2012. Outside the Lonmin Platinum Mine in Marikana in South Africa, 112 striking miners are shot down by police. 34 die. Like many other South Africans, the shooting shook me to the core. Events like this took me back to the massacres of apartheid. Sharpeville 1960, Soweto 1976. Killings like these led South Africans to support Nelson Mandela and his struggle for freedom. But today, these miners are being shot at by our new government to ensure that it's business as usual. We could see that lives were now being sacrificed for money, and that the young democracy we had so much hope for was under threat.
This is not a day to apportion blame. It is a day for us to mourn together as a nation. It is also a day to start rebuilding and healing.
The SAPS did all in its power to avert a situation such as this. And the police members had to employ force to protect themselves from the charging group. This is no time for blaming. This is no time for finger pointing. It is a time for us to mourn the sad and dark moment we experience as a country.
The Marikana Commission of Inquiry has sat for over a year. South Africans watch in a state of shock. Have the police been honest in their account? No, they have not. The big question remains: who sanctioned the order to use live ammunition against the strikers?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, my name is Dumisa Nsebeza. I appear for the following families: Mgcineni Noki, Mongezeleli Nteneja, Bongani Nqongophele, Cebisile Yawa, Jackson Leupa, Semi Chokanis, David Fezile Sapendo, Thobisile Dibambele, Henry Mvuyisi Phato, Julius Dokoti Mangcodwa, Mzukisi Sombeta, Patrick Akona Jijase, Babalo Mchazi, Mafolisi
Good morning, it's Friday 10th of August 2012. Allegedly illegal gathering by rock drill operators.
It's 6 days before the massacre. The mining company, Lonmin, is filming the miners as they gather outside the mine. A Lonmin security guard reports everything he sees.
Group allegedly wants to march to LPD building to speak to management with regards to salary and certain packages. Awaiting SAPs and backup to see if we can stop the crowd. Also awaiting feedback from senior management with regards to, will we let the crowd to march to LPD or will we try to stop the crowd?
A crowd of rock drillers meet and march to the Lonmin management office. They believe the official majority union, the National Union of Mine Workers, are in the pockets of management, and so they've decided to take matters into their own hands. They are joined by workers from a competing union.
Sicomplaina ngemali yama-LDO encane, 4,000. Sathi at least make simuvisele imali ngoba umsebenzi sobenzayo ku-operator. Kodwa ke okubalulekileyo siyamazi umqeshi akazoba nayo le mali straight. Enye nenye nayo sobonisana nayo because sinemali encane kakhulu. Sabe sinenjongo uba at least ibifikile ku-7,000. Xa sifika apho between basifike sisiduzane kusivalele security.
Only rubber rounds, low density rubber rounds, no SSG, no AAA. All of us declared. Only rubber hoor.
Abese kuphinda kufika security zifake i-desert tape. About kusuka kwindawo esikuyo ukuya kwi tape yabe yanqomba by 15 meters. Siphume sabayi-5. Sathi asiyizi athi uthina nawo uba sifuna ntoni. Wathi why nilapha singestrike sonanga amaphepha. Simphendule egama elithi no thina asifundanga. Njengoba sisi-LDO because of what asifundanga. Now nangoku awuzusixelela ngefayile zamaphepha uba masifunde apha. Thina asifundanga. Into ebhalwe asiyazi.
Umuntu omnyama usebenza kabuhlungu. Usebenzela ubukhoboka. Toti kufumanise kutatakho uyosebenza bengumtshini boy. Uyoda yofa okanye goduke engulo mtshini boy nawe uzotyiwa indlala pha kwenu ubone bayikhona. Mandiyeke lento bendiyenza noba bungabe bufunda. Bomama ndiyeke isikolo ndihambe ndiyoba ngumtshini boy pha. La kwezanto zamayini uphathwe ngunyana walamntu ebephethe utatakho.
The average take-home pay of rock drillers is 5,000 South African rand. the equivalent of 500 US dollars. This condemns them to poverty, they say. Mining companies like Lonmin view higher wages as the biggest threat to the continued health of the business. Lonmin is a British company which started drilling for platinum in South Africa 30 years ago. It employs 28,000 people, exporting the world's most precious metal out of the country and around the globe. The company has spent large sums of money on a massive program of expansion, leaving it financially vulnerable. The prospect of a long strike was the last thing they wanted.
We experienced a group of workers who started marching from the Wonderkop area towards this place, which we call LPD. These are the people who define mining. If they don't drill, there's no mining. So if they are not at work, it becomes obvious. They marched until the four-way junction, which is across the building here. And at that point, obviously, that's when the security engaged them. And at no point did this group of employees demonstrate they had anything to present.
A couple of months previously, Lonmin had met directly with that same strike committee to discuss their grievances. Yet now they wouldn't talk to them. Why?
The story of the Marikana massacre would be incomplete without a close look at the involvement of Cyril Ramaphosa. I had watched him with admiration as he built the largest trade union the country had ever seen, the National Union of Mine Workers. Under Cyril's leadership, NUM saw the miners join the fight against apartheid, and I took my place marching side by side behind their banner.
It must be remembered that it was the mining industry, and specifically the Chamber of Mines, which pioneered the most oppressive features of apartheid South Africa.
Viva Comrade Sisulu, viva! Viva! Viva Comrade Mutlatsi, viva! Viva! Wala Mabube! Wala Mabube!
Mine workers have always had to put up with harsh living and working conditions. Cyril Ramaphosa was determined to change this. Under his leadership, workers were led into mass strikes and direct confrontation with the white mine owners. He was, for me, a vital and important person in the birth of the new South Africa.
There's no such thing as a liberal bourgeois. They are all the same. They use fascist methods to destroy workers' lives.
He soon became a leading member of the African National Congress, and from this position joined the black economic elite. Ramaphosa, who once saw South Africa's working class as a force to bring about change, now found himself on the other side of the table. At the time of the massacre, he was a board member of Lonmin.
We've gone through our waves of strikes, and we always have strikes because we have such a robust democratic system that allows workers to express themselves. And people should never be alarmed. This is the South African way. And we need to accept that. Workers will voice their dissatisfaction through withdrawing their labor. What we are against is that quite a number of those strikes have tended to turn violent. That is one behavior pattern that we need to get out of our system.
Ironically, the National Union of Mine Workers, NUM, the powerful union which Cyril Ramaphosa once led, was still the majority union inside the mines. But in the lead-up to the Lonmin strike, NUM had refused to address the low wages of their members. And when Lonmin management told the workers that they would only negotiate through the majority union, the workers decided to go back to NUM's office.
About 3,000 workers, strikers, march down to the NUM office. The people who are in the NUM offices, and there are probably about 30 branch officials and shop stewards, they'd been advised by the Lonmin security that the march was on its way, and if they didn't want to meet the march, then they should lock the building down and simply go home.
Into yasidinayo singabasebenzi be-Lonmin bubumenemene be-union esayikhethayo yentando yesininzi. Sadinwa ke iyo sabona ukuba asiyifumani imfuno zethu phofu ke imfuno yemali esiyifuna saqonda ba masiziyele singabasebenzi be-Lonmin.
The president or the general secretary of the local NUM branch, I forget which, decided that he would hand out weapons to each of the 30 people who were there. And they handed out pangas and spears, but he also handed out at least one gun.
Ininzi lethu beli under NUM, even me, bendiku NUM. Now, sizithathe idivision mama size straight kumqeshi yasokola. Nina nisokoli because niseze office. Xa sifika siduze nokufika because sihamba siyimash but asiphethe even lutho sihamba siso. E-office sajikela ngemva zasihlangabeza. Savulela ngembumbulu sasidubula. Singakakhulumi.
They were shot at from the offices of the NUM. And in fact, for a long time thereafter, it was not denied that 2 employees were shot at that stage.
Sibaleka sibheke phi lapha erenkini emateksi. If usibaleka ngeke ngabona omunye umtsha waphansi ngitshela ukuthi maybe ushayiwe, hayi ngathena ngabuya kule mbhobo lephuma ku stop nonsense. Ngithena ngisahamba emva kwale row, kune row ekhona lapha enkompolo. Ngithengiswa ngeswa kuyabanda la emuva la. Ngeke ngazama ukubaleka. Ngawacela namadoda bengibaleka kunye na ngatshela amadoda sengishayiwe ngithutshuliwe manje.
The National Union of Mine Workers denies any of their members attacked workers and insist that their branch leadership were acting in self-defense.
NUM would not encourage any sort of that, but NUM would understand if its people believe that they are under threat to their lives and our office under threat, that they will, at the spark of the moment, decide to take a stand. As I've said that as an NUM, we believe that those people in that circumstances found themselves and we don't condemn what they did.
In many respects, that was a complete turning point because up until that point, there'd been very little violence. I'm not saying there wasn't any violence. People say there was a bit of intimidation. I really don't know about it. But no one was being killed.
Sibalekile ke ngosikhathi. Siphinda dibana foot in the side here. A grounding after izangomo. So planning ntoni is bad. Siyohlala entabeni because napha e-stadium sihleli khona ngesazi masohlala entabeni intaba yona ayixoxisi ngekanoma ngubani.
11/08/2012.
Every time the miners gather, the Lonmin security guard keeps a keen eye on them.
After a shooting incident of 2 people allegedly from Korea area, situation is fairly calm at this stage. No direct threat to security.
As a reaction to NUM shooting at their own members, the conflict grows. Lonmin rock drillers from the nearby Korea shaft join the strike in numbers. They belong to the competing union, the Association of Construction and Mine Workers Union, UMCU. UMCU's leader, Joseph Matunjwa, like Ramaphosa 20 years before him, is fighting the system and believes NUM has become far too close to mine management and government. He soon becomes an important player in the unfolding events at Marikana.
Comrade, when we voted 1994, we thought that the working class is liberated. The only thing that we benefited is to change the administration which was run by the white collar. That is our challenge now, ukuthi thina mase sibona ukuthi sesizoyithola inkululeko sizobona ngokushintsha isystem.
On the 12th, they decide that they're going to go back